if, let's say, the swimming volume is higher during the GPP phase of swimming, you can make the GPP gym volume a little bit lower. The angle of their wrist, how their foot is turned out. So the details really, really matter. All right, we're good? Okay, thanks, Reagan. All right, episode 21. This is the Q&A podcast. Last week, I put up the question box on Instagram and asked everyone to leave a question for this podcast. And we actually had a lot of questions, and I actually haven't read any of it. I just quickly glanced through it to make sure there were enough for a podcast, and there were a lot. And the reason I haven't read it is because in the past I've had, when I've gone on other people's podcasts, I've had other people send me the questions in advance, and I actually hate it because uh, because when I do get the questions in advance, then I just kind of ruminate on the question and I think about the answer all day, and I don't want to do that. And I need to reserve my headspace for other things. So everything that I'm going to read or answer today is straight off the dome. So I'm going to take a second between each question just to make sure that they are appropriate, as sometimes I get inappropriate questions in here. So the first question, let's see. Oh, and I also promised that I would keep the person asking the question anonymous, so I will not read the person's name. The first question: could the way track sprinters structure workouts be applied to age group swimmers? Probably not. I think at the age group level, you need more skill acquisition. But with that being said, I suppose track also has skill acquisition and drills into their programming. I think some of the principles can probably be taken for sure, like the specificity aspect of it. And I think the whole concept of taking the 400 meters from track and applying it to the 100 meters in freestyle from an energy systems perspective, I think that principle can be applied. But I do think swimmers need to spend a little bit more time acquiring the skill of swimming opposed to track, because I think that naturally running is a much easier skill to acquire than swimming is. And so I do think at the age group level, we do need a little bit more of the quote unquote base building. But I really think that base building is just skill acquisition. I don't think of base building in terms of the energy systems and metabolically, because that we know that you can develop that outside of land. You can hit the assault bike, or you can do a rower or whatever, and you can develop energy systems that way. I think the base building that traditionally people have always talked about comes more from a skill acquisition standpoint, because we need to spend more time in water acquiring the skill opposed to track athletes on land. So yeah, I would just take some principles from it, but I don't think you can completely copy and paste the track workouts and apply it to age group swimming. The next question: when should I start GPP? Before swimming load starts going up or at the same time? Before swimming load starts going up or at the same time. Oh, I see. Okay. I think it kind of depends. For example, this past January, we did a heavy GPP block where I intentionally made the GPP phase extremely difficult and hard to do. And so we only swam 3 times per week. We did 3 hard GPP sessions per week, and then we did 3 really easy swim sessions just to kind of maintain the feel of the water. And that actually worked out very well. But at the same time, you can also do it at the same time and just adjust the volume of your GPP in the gym. So if, let's say, the swimming volume is higher during the GPP phase of swimming, you can make the GPP gym volume a little bit lower, so that basically the principle that you want to manage is you want to think about the overall stress that the athlete is going through. And so if swim volume is high, lower the GPP, gym volume. If GPP, gym volume is high, then lower the swim volume. It really just depends on what you're trying to accomplish. So the thing I would say is to just account for the total load between gym and swim. What are underrated or not well-known ways to improve in swimming? This one's a little bit not controversial, but it's a touchy subject. It's it's helping athletes find an ideal body weight. And it's touchy because when a coach brings that up to an athlete, and if they don't do it delicately, then you can, you know, you can really hurt the athlete's relationship with food, relationship with their body. Um, you just have to be very delicate in how you bring it up. But in a sport where your power to weight ratio and strength to weight ratio really matters, because you have to carry your own body weight through the water. That's just facts of the sport. It's just physics. Means there is an ideal body weight for every single athlete. Now, how you find that and how you deliver that is up to you as the coach. But I do think if you can find that ideal body weight, then you can improve in swimming without training. All you have to do is account for your caloric intake. And I think the mistake that people make is, in order to lose weight, they try to do more swimming or more activity. The problem with that is then you incur fatigue, unnecessary fatigue, and that doesn't help your swimming. The easy way to do it, or the correct way to do it, in my opinion, is to account for your calorie intake, caloric intake, because that doesn't require any extra energy expenditure. So weight loss or weight gain is simply a mathematical equation of calories in, calories out. That's just law of thermodynamics. So if you are trying to lose weight, I would encourage athletes to strategically manage their caloric intake, and that will help you improve in swimming if you need to lose weight. If you need to gain weight, then strategically increase your caloric intake, and that will improve your swimming. And I think that's underrated or not well known. What is your opinion about applying Makavoy type of training for age group swimmers? Um, so I think there's actually two components to this. What the general public is saying the Makavoy type of training is do heavy weighted pull-ups and just do 25 sprints and do resisted swimming. That's what the general public thinks the Makavoy type of training is. But I think what the Makavoy type of training is to Cam Makavoy is, and Cam, correct me if I'm wrong, is you're just accurately doing the things that will help you accomplish the goal that you're trying to accomplish. So you can apply the Cam Makavoy type of training actually to the 1500 if you wanted to. it's just figuring out what is, and I will probably if I'm known for anything, it's these words. It's find and address the rate limiting KPI. That's all my training philosophy is. You're just finding the rate limiting KPI and then addressing it. And I believe that's also what Cam is doing. And Cam and I have had this conversation before. We talked about how when two people on opposite sides of the globe come to the same conclusion, then there must be something from a principles perspective. And Cam and I talked about how religion is kind of the same way. You know, religion in the world, when the human race started, came to be in all parts of the globe. And whether it's Christianity or Judaism or Buddhism or whatever the religion is, because life is so hard and to deal with, humans came up with religion to help them deal with life. And that's kind of the same. I'm not saying like um, our 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 training philosophies are religion. I'm just saying that Cam and I came up with kind of very similar training philosophies. He came up with it first, but I kind of stumbled upon it when I initially retired from swimming and I was training myself. I was kind of messing with these kinds of training methods, and I went best times. And then when I got asked to be a swim coach last April, I just applied those training principles that I was applying to myself, and it worked out pretty well. And Cam did help. Cam and Tim. I asked them a lot of questions when I initially started, just to kind of. I had theories, but I wanted to ask more specific questions on how to structure things and how to do the taper and whatnot. And so, uh, yeah, like it ended up working out where it was very. I think we're similar. Cam and I were similar, but there we also have differences. And I really like what Cam says about that. He says how you relate to the training matters more than the training. And so um, my training philosophies come from my own experiences and then what I've observed, and I apply those into my methods. So back to the question, what is your opinion about the applying the McAvoy type of training? If it's what the general public perceives of like weighted pull-ups, sprint all the time, do 1,300 meters a week, probably not the best idea for age group swimmers. If it's the Cam McAvoy method of find and address the rate limiting KPI, then absolutely works. um, that one doesn't really make sense. Sorry, I'm trying to filter through the silly ones. How to go from 23.0 to 22.550 free long course meters. Anything that stands out to you? So I get a ton of questions like this that it's like, okay, how do I drop time? These questions, I could say something, but then I would just be a fraud if I didn't know more about you. So I need to have more context about, maybe you have a 40-inch vertical, but you can't do a single pull up. Then, you know, helping you achieve your first pull up would be the thing that's going to take you from 23.0 to 22.5. So I just need a little bit more context to be able to give that kind of advice. What is the pro squad's current balance between time at pool versus gym? How decide this? I think that's a word count thing. How decide this? I actually took Charlie Francis's consolidated stress model where all of the stress is consolidated into one day. And so we do all of our high CNS sprint work in the pool on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and all of our gym work also on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. In terms of time, on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday in the pool, we're probably spending between, the pre-pool activation and the actual swimming and swimming down and warming up. We're usually there for 2 to 3 hours at the pool, depending on the practice. And then we drive to the gym. It's about a 10 to 15 minute drive to the gym. And we spend about another hour and a half to 2 hours between the mobility, the soft tissue work, and the actual strength and power work. Is hip mobility, internal, external rotation, important for freestyle and butterfly swimmers? As it pertains to the actual stroke, I don't think it matters that much, to be honest. But as it pertains to training in the gym so that you can swim fast, I think it matters. And it depends on for what movement. So for example, like if you're squatting, you're going to need a little bit of hip internal rotation to be able to squat. If you are external rotation, hip external rotation. Yeah, actually you need external rotation for squatting too. So yeah, basically anything lower body training related, you're going to need some degree of hip internal and external rotation to be able to do the things in the gym that will help you get faster in the pool. So I don't think you need it specifically for the freestyle and butterfly stroke, but you need it to do things in the gym. Most important training equipment for sprinters. Probably some form of resisted swimming, whether it be parachute, destro, T-apex, 1080, any of those resisted swimming, I think is very important. Probably the second most important, fins. We use a ton of fins. And then maybe paddles third. Yeah, I'd probably go in that order. Resisted swimming, fins, and then paddles. At least that's the order of importance that we place on our program. Best resistance alternative if no destro. Well, if you want to go more expensive, you can go 1080 or T-apex. Otherwise, you can use parachute. And if you don't like the fact that the parachute gets caught on your feet, you can tie a cord buoy around your parachute, and the parachute will float. You can also use something that we use a lot. It's called a cord buoy. You just take a bungee cord, drill a hole into a buoy, and then you put the cord into the buoy, and so the buoy floats at the surface. What Sid has done is he's taken a sponge and wrapped it around a cord, and then he also uses that as well. So you can get creative. You can use a sponge, a loofah. You can also use a Home Depot bucket, put a weight in there so that it kind of goes to the bottom of the pool. And that way you're fighting both propulsive and lift forces. So you have to lift the bucket up, but you also have to fight the propulsive forces as well. How to prepare or train before a big competition? That's way too loaded of a question, I think, to give an answer intelligently. Can you get me a free tech suit? If it is possible, please DM me. I want to reduce my time. I'm in. Oh. Yeah, I won't read that part, but can you give me a free tech suit? No, because I don't even get free tech suits. Which Olympic lift transfers the most in general if an athlete has all buckets leveled? Wow. People read our stuff. They know about our bucket system. If all buckets are leveled, so assuming the mobility bucket is all good, I would probably say the power clean, and power being catching the bar, receiving the bar above, with the knees above 90 degrees. Probably because it has, like snatch, there's a big learning curve that you have to take on. And then there's also the overhead mobility component, and then the overhead shoulder injury risk that it poses. Power clean, it's much easier to teach. There's a higher absolute loading that you can use compared to the snatch. So with a power clean, the absolute load that you use is higher than a snatch. And so there's a higher neural load. So if that's the goal, then you can probably use a power clean. From the floor, because I think when you do it from the floor, it's purely concentric, opposed to if you do like a hang variation, there's a stretch shortening cycle, which you don't get in swimming. You actually don't have a stretch shortening cycle in swimming because most of it is concentric. If you only had 30 minutes for dryland, 4-day a week, no equipment, what you do? Well, what do you do? I'm terrible at reading. 30 minutes of dryland, 4 days a week. Okay. Okay, I'm going to say, because it says if me, this is for me and not anybody else. If I only had 30 minutes of dryland 4 days a week, I would probably do some sort of jump variation, loaded and unloaded, some kind of Olympic lift variation, just because I love it and it's high neural load for me, some kind of push, weighted pull-ups, CO row, some kind of front lever work, some kind of ab wheel work, some kind of L-sit work, and some kind of rotational core component. Yeah, it's a lot, but yeah, that's what I would do. How would you manage sickness? Just rest. Oh, I mean, it depends on how sick you are too. Like if you're sick as a dog, then I would just stay at home. But if you're like somewhat sick, then I would just reduce the training volume and intensity and just do what I can. Knowing how important it is for coaches to make an impact on their athletes, is there anything a coach has said to you when you were younger that still sticks with you today? The first thing that comes to mind is, I said this on my last podcast, but John Urbanchek telling me that I had potential as a coach. That was a big moment for me because, I mean, it's John Urbanchek. He's a coaching legend. And when a guy like that tells you that you have potential as a coach, you take it very seriously. So yeah, I think that's a big one. And because of that, I only tell coaches that if I actually see potential. I try not to lie. So if I think a coach doesn't have potential, I probably won't tell them that, because I know how impactful that could be. Speaking of John Urbanchek, we have the Urbanchek invite coming up. June, when was it again? June 5th to 7th? June 5th to 7th. We don't make any money from this. I just want to support the team that supports us. But if you are wanting to race the ASP Pros, check out the Urbanchek Invitational from June 5th to June 7th at the Janet Evans Swim Complex in Fullerton, California. All right, next question. Oh, there's a lot. Do you watch the show Invincible on Prime? No, I don't. I actually don't watch a whole lot of anything. Whoa, I got one in Korean. Can I copy this? Oh, I can't copy it. I was going to send it to chat. Oh, you know what I could do? I could screenshot it. I'm going to screenshot it, and then I'm going to send it to chat. And then I'm going to say translate to English. Let's see what it says. By the way, while this is loading, Korean food is probably top 3 for me. I love sundubu. Hello, I'm a beginner swimmer from South Korea. Is swimming really an exercise that helps you lose weight? You all look so cool, and I'm jealous. Wow, thank you. Swimming can help you lose weight, but as I mentioned before, the only thing that actually helps you lose weight is reducing your caloric intake. So, yeah, swimming can, but you have to manage your calories in, calories out to lose weight. That's the only way. Trap bar deadlift or barbell squat for a more powerful start? I would say at the beginning stages of your training career, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. I will say that the trap bar deadlift probably is a safer option opposed to a barbell squat. But as you get more advanced and your training age increases, I would say the trap bar is more specific to the start than a squat because of the knee angle. If you look at the knee angles, you won't really, especially an ass to grass squat, you'll never really hit that knee flexion angle during a start. And the start is much more hip dominant. And so I would say the trap bar deadlift is more specific there. Where is the backstroke love, Sean? I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess we don't have any backstrokers. Marina is going to swim backstroke at the Caribbean and Central American Games. And Maddie Moore, our online athlete. For how long is it possible, in your opinion, to hit the lifetime PBs? Example, Santos in his late 40s. I think this is one of those questions that it's more psychological. Like you don't want to like if I said, "Okay, yeah, you're done. You're cooked. If you're 45, you're cooked." Then it's like people will stop trying. And so I never like to limit myself or any of our athletes. So I don't know. I want to say like until you die, 100 years old, you can keep trying, pursue potential. Hi, Sean. Could you talk about adjusting lifting during taper, please? Oh, okay. Actually, I've changed my mind a lot on this recently. Not a lot, but just somewhat. The podcast that I did with Jack Noel. Do you remember what episode that was? It was like episode eight, nine, something like that. I forget what it was, but the podcast I did with Jack Noel, that really got me thinking about taper during the lifting phase, or lifting during the taper phase. Um, I actually think you can keep doing strength, strength as defined as around 70 to 100% of your 1RM of an exercise. And you don't have to know your 1RM to actually know this, but you can do an estimation. But you can do that pretty close up to your competition as long as volume is adjusted for. And I started doing that this year because last year for US Open, I think I came off the strength work too early, and I could feel that the athletes didn't feel super strong leading up to US Open. So I kind of changed it for US Open and Nat's Hong Kong trials and Calvin South African trials, and obviously those went pretty well. So I think the changes I'm going to make to our programming is I'm going to leave strength in our programming for a little bit closer to the competition, but just account for volume. As long as volume is accounted for, you'll be fine. Episode 13. Thank you, Reagan. If you check out episode 13 with Jack Noel, that podcast kind of changed my thinking about taper for lifting. So check that out. But I still keep my general principles of going from GPP, strength development, strength speed, speed strength, and then competition. That general principle is still there. I just leave strength in for a little bit longer, and I vertically integrate, meaning I do all of those things. They're all present within the training session. The ratios of how much we do just kind of shifts as we move along in the season. What are your go-to exercises for GIRD? So GIRD is glenohumeral internal rotation deficit. It's very common in baseball pitchers who develop retroversion in their throwing arm. So retroversion is when you develop a ton of external rotation in your throwing, or in any arm, I guess. You develop a ton of external rotation in your humerus, and you have a loss of internal rotation. So, for example, you might have 140 degrees of external rotation and then 10 to 20 degrees of internal rotation. So this is actually one of my weaknesses as a coach. I haven't had great success with developing internal rotation in athletes. I think partly because I'm scared, because you can really hurt somebody trying to develop internal rotation. So you have to be very delicate, because the posterior cuff, it's not very big back there, and so I've gone back and forth with this with Dr. Josh. Dr. Josh likes to do sleeper stretch with, as long as you control for the intensity. So you don't want to like go max sleeper stretch and max intensity, because you can't hurt yourself like that. Josh always says go about 4 to 5 out of 10 intensity while you're doing the sleeper stretch. So I kind of sprinkle that in there. But I also like any kind of cross body stretching. So like the classic like PE, like cross body stretching like this, like that. That seems to help a little bit, but then also just soft tissue work in the posterior shoulder. So your internal rotation is limited by the quality of the tissue in the posterior shoulder. So if you can take care of the length and the quality of your posterior shoulder, then it should help your internal rotation. The thing I suggest is to test and retest. So try across, like, measure your internal rotation. You can measure it yourself. Just make sure your scap is stabilized. Measure your internal rotation. Do some cross body stretching. Take a lacrosse ball to your posterior shoulder, and then re-measure your internal rotation, and then see what happens. If it improves, and you didn't hurt yourself, then perfect. You just improved your internal rotation. Contact me. My Insta is insert name. I want a new tech suit. No. Sorry, I don't get free tech suits. So like, I would literally be buying a new tech suit for you and then sending it for you. That makes no sense. How do you convince a club that the aerobic base isn't needed for 50 to 100 meter swimmers? Oh man, that's an uphill battle, buddy. Um, I think it depends on your coach. Like, are they open minded? Are they closed minded? If they're closed minded, then it's going to be very hard. But um, you could use Socratic dialogue. Socratic dialogue is basically, you just ask a bunch of questions until you get the person to agree with what you're trying to say. Just ask ChatGPT what Socratic dialogue is. Would you hire a strength coach out of state to work with ASP athletes in person? Actually, we have a internship that starts May 11th and goes through August 8th. The application deadline is April 25th. So by the time this releases, it's probably too late to apply. But based on that internship cohort, we do plan on hiring some strength coaches, not all, but we do plan on hiring some. I will say the most important thing for us for hiring is character, competency, and character. So I can teach anybody how to teach a deadlift. That's easy. Like, all that stuff is so easy. Like, how to become a strength coach is easy. Um, but I can't teach an asshole not to be an asshole. And so we really work hard on hiring people with high character, and they share the same values that we believe in. Because if we bring in someone that is misaligned with the values that we believe in, it's a cultural nightmare. And so I built this business based on, over delivering results and over delivering value, and just living by the values that we believe in. And so in order to keep growing and make sure that the business doesn't die, I have to only hire people who share the same values and beliefs, and are high character. And so, yeah, we do hire people out of state. But if you're an asshole, then we won't hire you. Do you need volume to do speed work? I mean, yeah, you'd need volume to do anything technically. But I'm guessing the question is like, do you need lots of volume? I will answer this by saying that we rarely go over 300 meters of race pace volume. Sometimes the women will do like 350 meters, but yeah, the at most we do is 300 meters of race pace. Like, some of the guys can get fried with like 150 to 190 meters of race pace volume. So yeah, we don't do much more than that. How much technique focus do you do for the pro team? Do you use the EO device at all? So one of the really cool things about working with these pro athletes are they all have like 20 plus years of swimming experience. So they're constantly coaching each other and helping each other with technique, and they're watching each other underwater. We do a lot of underwater filming. We film a lot of it. So technically, like, every single session we're doing technique work because we're always giving each other feedback. So yeah, we do a lot, I guess. If you mean technique work as in like drills and stuff, we don't do that much. We do some, but not a whole lot. In terms of the EO hand paddles, yes, we are affiliated with them. If you use the code, I believe it's ASPXEO, then you get 3 months free off their membership. Yeah, and we have used it and played with them. How would you manage sickness? Didn't I already get that? Oh, this guy asked it twice. Any common themes slash characteristics mentally in your pro group athletes? Oh, that's a really good one. Uh, Probably a couple things. The first one is extreme attention to detail in terms of the swimming stroke. So they're constantly thinking about the smallest detail, the angle of their wrist, how their foot is turned out, where should the chest be, where should the head position be on every single rep of the practice. They're thinking about these things and tweaking these things and playing with it and asking each other and helping each other with all the details. So the details really, really matter. The other thing I think is I actually believe this of all high performers, not just pro athletes, whether it's business or being a chef or whatever, being a musician. I think all high performers, they kind of have this f- deep feeling of inadequacy and deep feeling of wanting to prove something to the world, whether it came from their childhood or maybe how their parents treated them or whatever. There's this deep feeling to become successful in order to prove something to the world, and it's this like very, I don't want to say it's insecurity. I certainly have it, um, where I have to prove myself, and I don't think you build something great if you don't have this deep feeling of wanting to prove something to the world. And that's actually where I struggle with parenting because um, I feel like if I give my kids everything and I spoil them and I'm a great dad, then they won't be hungry to achieve something. Um, Not to say I didn't have a great childhood. Um, I did, but I want to say this delicately. Um, I don't think I don't know how to say this actually. I think I'll just skip it. But basically, that deep sensation of wanting to prove yourself, I think all these pro group athletes have. I'll leave it at that. I know I said that I wouldn't display anybody's names, but Sid asked. I don't think he'll mind. World Championships for a 4x25 plus 4-man war zone and or search and destroy. Choose your squad. Oh wow. I mean, I would have to go with Sid, Simon, and Skylar. That was my squad for all of COVID during 2020. We played so much Call of Duty. So yeah, it would be me, Sid, Simon, and Skylar. Bicarb dose and timing. Oh, I actually don't have a ton of experience with bicarb. It's basically baking soda. You take baking soda to reduce the acidity levels in your blood. I've actually never done it, so I don't want to speak on something that I've never done. But I know that bicarb tends to give people GI issues. But if you use beta alanine, it basically does the same thing. It buffers acid, and it doesn't have the same GI problems. I've used beta alanine before, so I would play with. I mean, you can just chat GPT or Claude beta alanine dosing guidelines and timing. When doing lower yardage training, does meet warm up distance also change? Yes, absolutely. Because if you're used to doing 1,000 meters per workout, then it doesn't make sense to do 600 warm up. Um, we tend to do a lot of our warm up on land and then swim a little bit so that we're kind of saving that yardage. But I know that like if you're in a high volume program, like if you do 10,000 meters per workout, then usually those athletes, they need to do like 1,000 to 2,000 meters of warm up to get ready. Yeah. Oh, who who wins in a 1v1 snipers? Only you or Sid? I wish I could say who asked this question, but I did promise I won't say it, so I won't say it. But they are a well-known figure in the swimming world. I'll say that. Definitely Sid. Definitely Sid. He is the better sniper in Call of Duty, hands down. Um, yeah, I think we used to play on Rust. I don't know if anyone knows Rust, that map from Modern Warfare 2. And we would go snipers only with the intervention, and he would kick my butt. All right, last one. Does leg strength matter more or back strength for 50 free? Which bucket is bigger? I'm assuming back includes erector spinae, lats, rhomboids, traps, lower trap, upper trap. If that's the case, then I would say back strength matters much more than leg strength. Yeah. Because I actually think leg strength doesn't matter a whole lot for flutter kicking speed. Um, I think your hip flexor strength matters a lot more in hamstring strength, which I guess is leg strength for flutter kicking speed. Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I'd probably go with back strength. Yeah. All right. Well, anyways, that was, I think I went through all of them. Let me just double check really quick. Yeah, I went through all of them. I skipped some of the inappropriate ones. But yeah, let me know if you guys like this kind of podcast, if you guys enjoy the Q&As. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.